bathhouse.com.
The Thunder Boys. I just love this song.
With Floyd's dancing numbers, his works on the poles and then all the different gymnastic skills and now this rap song, I'm just waiting for the Broadway play, the soundtrack of this entire season because they're just dropping hits after hits.
Pure joy, Weather Boy. Here we go. All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is DTF St. Louis, the unofficial after show. We have now seen our 4th episode of DTF. We are just cruising towards the end here.
Yeah,
I know, it is flying by.
Yeah.
What did you think about this moment? I mean, it came out of nowhere for me, this song.
Left field. That's always the best ways to drop something kind of, weird and wacky and fun. This is just a continuation, just the bond that these two have, their brotherhood, their friendship. And this song, I think, will be, like I said, top the charts when everyone gets a chance to listen to it on repeat and repeat. This is an absolutely interesting song, to say the least.
I love getting into all of this with you, and we're going to break it all down, break down the whole episode. But again, spoiler alert for anybody who has not seen it yet, please go back and do that because we don't want to be the ones that break your heart with something, especially because this ending was pretty good too. And so we're going to touch on that in just a minute. Yeah. Also, stick with us throughout this entire episode because we're going to have a former detective on our show to talk about some of the reality versus fiction, some true crime elements here. This is obviously kind of a murder mystery. And maybe at heart here, we're trying to figure out why Floyd is dead, who killed Floyd, and he's going to give us a lot of insight on that. So please stick with us here. But let's talk about Carol because this episode really, to me, just like opened up so much of her character. Yeah. I mean, she's a coupon clipper. She is worried about money. You can just feel this like, oh man, I am down on my luck.
It's last week kind of put her in a certain light. They were like, oh, she's just using Floyd, she's using Clark, she's manipulating the whole situation. And it was 10 minutes, I want to say. This opening sequence kind of, in my eyes, changes the perception on her a little bit because it seems to be like she did this financial burden that she had. It was almost, I don't want to say only on her shoulders, but Floyd's, in the bath and kind of not taking it as serious. They've had this wish list of things they want to buy for Richard and to better their lives. But he's buying jewelry, which is a sweet sentiment, don't get me wrong. But it's just like she seemed to be the one that was like, well, let me take this job on as an umpire. And he's just, doing his side language thing. So it seems like the first 10 minutes really shapes you into, not that you would sympathize if she had anything to do with his murder, which is, she's definitely one of the suspects, but it makes you kind of understand the burdens, the troubles that she had and how much it kind of was on her shoulders to not only support her son, but also her adult husband, who's almost like a kid in his own right. So I kind of feel bad for Carol in this opening sequence here.
Do you think it takes away, because I think we've talked about in the past, Floyd is like our hero in some ways. He's this very sympathetic person. He's wonderful, as Clark describes him. But do you kind of see his deficiencies here a little bit more? I mean, a lot of spouses could probably say, I told you to cancel the lawn maintenance and you didn't do it.
This is, I think we talked about it last week, like what's the thing that's going to make the chink in his armor, make us kind of like, he's not a bad guy, he's still a good guy, but it's like he's not perfect. He has his flaws. He has his kind of loof to him where he's just not as locked in or as serious as maybe Carol would want him to be in their relationship. So I think this episode did kind of, again, reposition these characters in a way that we get to see another side of them.
I was thinking about adult pet peeves, like when you become an adult and you're like, what is the thing that just kind of just annoys the heck out of you? I mean, obviously for Floyd, it's this umpire outfit. For some reason, it's just not his thing. He is not into that at all. I don't know. And then Carol's obviously got her stuff that she's got going on. Yeah. Can you think of like an adult pet peeve that you have, like something that you're just like, this drives me nuts?
As it pertains to this show, I just think it is one of those situations where when someone doesn't see the obvious struggle and they're just kind of moving through life like there isn't any issues, that's a pet peeve, I think, in any relationship. But like I said, I feel like Carol, I can kind of sympathize with her that Floyd doesn't seem to be on the same level of concern or has that extra level of like, I'm going to make sure our family is taken care of. I mean, again, she's doing the extra steps. He's relying on his friend to help pay for his financial situation, which is nice to have, but I do think it is kind of a flaw in Floyd. He doesn't seem to have that extra step to make sure that his family is taken care of.
I was thinking about, shout out to my husband here, but his mom always like gets on him for chewing ice. And so now every time he chews ice, I'm always like, you're doing it. You're doing that thing. You're chewing the ice,
Yeah.
It doesn't really bother me per se, but I just always think about these like, these little things. They can be little things that just like drive you absolutely nuts in a long-term relationship or a marriage.
Yeah.
And then I want to also give a shout out here to our last episode because I was thinking about Carol wearing this Purina vest again in the grocery store, having the fight about the coupon. If you haven't seen our last episode, go back and watch that because Purina was talking about, big St. Louis name here, a big employer in the region.
Yeah.
They had no idea they were going to be a part of the show, and here they are again.
Yeah. What is the quote? Ask for forgiveness later. That's kind of the situation. But I think it worked out for both sides. In the show has its context, but also having that, having their name out there always helps.
Another big grocery store scene that I found so interesting was Richard, switching over to him and the milk. And actually, I wanted to read something really quickly because they mentioned that he does have borderline personality disorder, which is a legitimate mental health issue, obviously. This is from the Mayo Clinic. It's a pattern of unstable, intense relationships as well as impulsiveness and an unhealthy way of seeing themselves. Impulsiveness involves having extreme emotions and acting or doing things without thinking about them first.
Right.
And I mean, he just takes those milk cartons and just smashes them. And it's sort of, to me, the first time that we really see maybe there is something truly an issue there for Richard.
Yeah, I mean, it started early in episode 1 and 2 when we see him throwing the rocks at the house. Like, what's going on? I mean, sure, kids have their ways of keeping themselves busy, but that's kind of a small signs of like this disruptive personality trait that he has. And yeah, like you said, the scene in the grocery store was pretty shocking. And it's just like, oh man, you feel for the kid. You wish, I don't know how he got there. I assume he walked there, but and again, it just adds more stress and more to Carol's plate to have to deal with that and pay for these damaged goods. And it's just, it just makes you wonder, like, how far does he go when he has these spells? Does it get violent, when we see this action take place? So very eye-opening moment for sure.
Is Richard still a potential suspect for you?
He's kind of been pulled back these last few weeks because of the more tender moments between him and Floyd building their relationship. And those moments are just so sweet to me, especially in this episode where he says to Floyd, like, I appreciate you. Thank you. I do think you're a good dad or stepdad or what have you. So those moments and it could be the show is trying to distract us and make us kind of feel for him. But I think in the last few weeks, I've kind of pulled back on him being involved. But this episode did that and add another layer to that. Like, oh, maybe he had, again, an explosive episode that could have led to Floyd's death.
Yeah, I really like this interaction between them when they're sitting down on, it looks like kind of like a park bench. It actually says it's outside of Washington University Elementary School, which is interesting for us St. Louis since we have a Washington University, of course.
Yeah.
It doesn't have an elementary school component, but he's so proud to tell him you're going to go to this other school where there's kids like you.
Right.
He won't say the F word. He keeps saying FF, and then Richard calls him out on that.
Like, I just,
again, very tender.
Yeah, he's trying to, again, I can appreciate Floyd trying to be the best mentor, father figure in Richard's life because, again, I don't know if the show will ever explore what happened to his dad. Was it a trait that his father had? It was just passed down to him. So I don't know if that will ever be explored. But this relationship that Floyd and Richard have had has been like this small little moments of tenderness and nothing's outrageous or no one's trying to get something out of someone. It's just like a pure relationship.
And what do you think about the fact, though, that Carol doesn't really react maybe in the way that you would expect a mother to, or there's this foil of these parents, Floyd is in some ways the more compassionate or the emotional one. He's in therapy with his stepson.
Yeah.
Carol's sort of just like, oh, great, the milk,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't see her, again, interacting with her son in that sort of more empathetic or compassionate way.
And that goes, again, back to what was her dynamic with her. I don't know if she was married to Richard's father or whatnot, but it almost seems like this is just kind of part of the course that she's seen these type of episodes, so it's kind of just another Tuesday for her. And now she has Floyd that she's almost kind of, I don't want to say dumping the trauma on him, but she's just like, hey, this is your, deal with this now. Well, I'll go take care of the financials. I'll let you handle whatever my son's going through and have you experience what I've been going through for however many years it may have been. So that's where I think her mind's at. It's just kind of, I'll let him handle this for now.
So the Clark and Floyd bromance just keeps
continues.
blooming.
Yeah.
It's blooming. And it's actually, it hit the wine trail.
Oh, yeah.
And I love this because we do, okay, so to kind of back up for people who are watching the show not from the St. Louis area, we do have a wine trail area called the Katy Trail. People will get on their bikes. They'll go to some vineyards, nothing like Napa Valley or anything like that. But we have some great wineries in the region. And so I kind of liked this moment between them. My favorite part was at first you think maybe Clark and Carol are going to go go together.
Right.
She's asking him,
She's
are you excited for the wine trip?
Yeah.
Turns out it's the bromance instead. What did you think of that?
Their relationship is so fascinating to me because it is two guys coming together, middle age, have their problems, but when they're together, it's just like they're teenagers again, and they can kind of go back to going to working out and talking about, maybe some, the DTF app and have that kind of personality trait of feeling young again. There's a youthful joy to their energy, but it was also kind of romantic in a way, especially when they're talking about having their wine and eating dinner, and it was just very intimate. And what Clark said last week in episode 3 was he loved him, and the love can mean in many different ways, but it seemed that this kind of leans into more that there could be a possibility they love each other a little bit more deeper than just platonic and just two guys that are enjoying each other's company. So it was a very interesting, fun vacation, little side trip, but also kind of helped their relationship kind of blossom even further.
At one point, I forget who it was, but the other is like just helping them sip their wine, actually holding the wine while they sip it. And I was like, boy, that is just like a funny moment of like sort of intimacy, whether that's good friends or potentially something more. But I also think that part of it is, or do you think that Floyd is just he's a communicative person. He's emotive. Yeah. And so he kind of has this, I love the dialogue here about he's got this tiny bird heart and he can't sleep at night. And so his tiny little bird heart just like keeps pitter-pattering.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that he can kind of say things in a way that is both funny, hilarious, and heartwarming.
It's interesting, too, because thinking about Clark, how he kind of he's a good listener, despite him being in an affair and kind of not knowingly breaking his friend's heart or breaking a relationship. He listens to Carol all the time about her issues, and the same goes with Floyd. So it almost feels like, because again, we haven't seen him with his wife with many scenes, so it almost feels like he's just like, let me take in these two and let them put their trauma on me and listen to their trials and tribulations, and I want to be that person for them to help them out. So, yeah, hearing that kind of moment of vulnerability from Floyd in regards to why he can't sleep, how he's having a difficult time sleeping, and Clark being that hero, being the Clark Kent, if you will, and being his person that can lift him up and provide him with the things he needs.
In fact, I think that leads us to a little moment, some more dialogue I want to play right now, that the bird heart into something else. Take a listen.
When I was a boy and I pictured myself as a man, I never pictured myself as a man asking another man for money. I pictured myself as a man parachuting out of an airplane with a machine gun.
So again, I just think that this is like the way that they're having this conversation. Admittedly, Floyd says I'm a little bit drunk. I'm a little wine drunk here. But what do you think this is all saying about male friendship? And is it true friendship? I mean, where's your heart leaning right now on? Is it something more, or is this a genuine, really true friendship?
I think the show is doing a really good job of having us, as well as the characters, still figuring out what this is. This is new territory for both of them. I don't know how long. I mean, Floyd has said many times, especially to Richard, how long did it take me to find this friend? I assume they're in their mid-40s, close to their 50s or what have you. So he spent a very long time just kind of living in his own bubble. Now he has this new relationship that he can kind of be himself. So there's that side of it. And then Clark, I always imagine Clark as someone that puts on a facade, that just kind of smiles through the pain and kind of just goes through life with a smile on, but there's more to him and there's more things that's bottled up inside of him. Hence his little fantasies or dreams that he has to live out with Carol. This seems like the first time he's able to explore that side of him. So it is a new relationship. It's new territory for both characters. And as they're exploring that and kind of seeing all the nuances that are being given in this relationship, I think that's the same way that we're kind of looking at the situation fold out. It's not just a cut, straightforward, this is this type of relationship. I think it has many facets to it.
Yeah, I keep thinking about what Stephen Conrad told us and why he decided to make it a TV weatherman as this main character, because you have this very public persona.
Yes.
I mean, something we can relate to here at First Alert Forward. It's like, okay, you know when you're on, and then when you're off, you know, who are you truly on the inside, and do those things always mesh well? You hope that they do, but a lot of times they may not. And I think that has been an interesting component of watching, you know, Clark feel just very at ease. But you keep going, this dissonance of like, yeah, but you are having this affair, and what does Floyd know or not know, which leads to this, I think, sort of explosive ending, even though we knew, because Floyd signs at one point that he knew what was going on. He's actually going to watch it from the hotel room in the very end.
Front row seats.
Boy, oh boy.
We don't know how he found what led him to the hotel.
Yeah.
Was it a bill? Was it a following, you know, Carol one day? And I don't know how he found out that they were having an affair. Was it just a inkling or something in his gut told him to look into this hotel? But yeah, he got to experience their dreams, which is another role play of, what was it, Clark being a pool boy in his early 20s, and Carol is just like, well, what are you doing down there, pool boy? And, you know, they're was it the sex robot now this? I mean, they have a whole script of role play that they like to fantasize about. But yeah, Clark puts himself in the closet, or Floyd puts himself in the closet to observe this relationship, and we might see that play out in the 5th episode. But yet again, he has this kind of, I don't want to say a flaw, but instead of addressing it head on, he'll rather watch it play out, which again speaks to where is he at mentally? Is this a relationship that did he fantasize about his wife with another? I don't know, but we'll have to find out.
Yeah, the Quality Garden Suites, man, just keeps on bringing us twists and turns here.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm a big fan of sound editing. I mentioned in another episode, but just the big crash of thunder at the very, very end of this episode. All these weather references, the Thunder Boys, and then the thunder comes a rumbling for them. I just thought that was a great way to end the episode.
100%.
So we haven't talked about Modern Love yet, because there's one other big revelation which Modern Love brings forward, which is, what is that key? And what did you think about the fact that it was Modern Love who said, oh yeah, P.O. boxes, by the way? Like, it was sort of interesting that was like, oh, hey, light bulb moment for our detectives.
Modern Love has dropped some gems in this episode. He said it last week and he said it again this week, the whole, you know, everyone looks normal from across the street, which is such a, you know, a great way to look at certain things. So that's 100% true. But yeah, the conversation at the roller rink was really eye-opening for mostly Homer. You know, this was the first time where, because again, he's already kind of stilt the case. He kind of thinks he's figured it out. But again, following Jody and listening to her tips and have how, you know, he revealed that, you know, Floyd did allow, I don't want to say allow, but he did engage in the French kiss because he didn't want him to feel bad. So now that kind of changes the dynamic of how Homer was looking at this case. And the conversation about why people get P.O. boxes is another kind of an eye-opener. Like, yeah, it is kind of interesting that people would rather have another place to drop off their more sensitive or private mail, or in the case Modern Love describes, this is where people keep their secrets and where they send things to their P.O. box was very funny. But no, it was a very eye-opening scene. You don't bring in someone as talented as Peter to just have a little small role. So I do anticipate we'll probably get more from him, but this was definitely a standout scene for me for sure.
Yeah, shout out, of course, to his St. Louis roots here. He went to Washington University and was born in our area, so that's so cool to see him on this show. I hope we get to see more roller rink. I mean, I'd like to see roller dancing. He said roller hypnotism was one of his careers.
Listen, if they give us a trifecta of seeing Floyd with the dance moves and the rapping and now on the roller rink, I mean, come on, the guy can do no wrong.
That would be absolutely perfect. Okay, so there is something, though, a connection that I had not picked up on, but our detective, our next guest that's going to be coming on, I know he wants to talk a little bit about Modern Love, as well as kind of break down what is real, what's not real in this show, what's realistic.
Yeah.
We're going to have him coming up right after the break. All right, we have a real treat for us today. Tom Sawyer is joining us. He is a former detective for the St. Louis Police Department. Many, many years. Quite a few years. I don't want to say many.
Years.
21 years. That's a pretty good run that you had there.
Pretty good.
I just want to give you, of course, a little bit of a little rib
The whole
here.
Tom Sawyer thing?
The whole Tom Sawyer thing. Do you get that a lot? We're in Missouri, okay?
I was getting over all of it with the Becky Thatcher and the Huck Finn,
Yeah.
and then Rush came out with the song, and it all started again with the Modern Day Warrior.
Yeah. Your parents didn't think about that? They were just like, what
I'm
is
like
it?
the fourth or fifth Tom Sawyer in the family. So
Are you related to the OG? No.
I've been asked that before. and when I was out on the street and I'd say my name was Tom Sawyer, they'd find out my name was Tom Sawyer. So several people called me Huck and different names like that. So.
Well, you were also a bad A. Can't say the word here. On our show, again, the F stands for facts. Okay, we can't curse on this show.
Understood.
We'll bleep you out. But
good luck with me, but we'll see how we do. But I'm pretty sure I can make it through in 10, 15 minutes.
Well, and thanks again. I mean, you have been on the streets of St. Louis. You worked these streets, all right? So what do you think about this show? First and foremost, your big picture, what do you make of this show?
I actually enjoy it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not a big TV watcher, and one of the reasons I did watch is because of the name, which was fascinating. This where it's in our city,
right.
So if it was called DTF Baltimore, I don't know if I would have tuned in. But and then you look for the clues of stuff being in the city, but they're not leaving a whole lot of stuff behind to let us talk about, in St. Louis. And I guess it's done for for lawyers and whatnot. That is so that people. But they did put the Purina in there.
They did. So are you in the camp of it's bothering you that there's not more St. Louis references, or it's inauthentic, or you're kind of like whatever?
I'm over it now. Mm-hmm. At the beginning, I was thinking that, but the show's so good that now it's just got me, wrapped into the whole. I'm not even watching for St. Louis stuff. Okay,
I kind of teased this from the beginning. Okay, so who do you think done it? Who done it?
So there's a couple theories that I've come up with. Is Emmy is always going to be there for some reason. She's just lingering in the back. Nobody's really seen her yet. But she's there. And then there's another theory that we've come up with is that Modern Love and Carol are related somehow because of the love. Her name is Love/Smyrnich on her IDs, and his name's Love, but would you have your maiden name would be the hyphenated one so they could be families, which would lead you to believe, and she made, if you remember last week at the end of the show, she said, we'll always be all right. We'll always be all right to Richard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you that grifter mentality that these guys might be grifters and they're setting up some big scheme for money. And because she's got Clark going out and getting them the insurance, so she's keeping her name clear of that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tricks they're doing that would lead you to believe they've done this before. You never know.
That was kind of mind-blowing to me, I have to be honest, because they have made a big deal about, she says to the detective, it's Love-Smyrnich, and then he calls her at one point, Carol Love,
Yeah.
And obviously you're just thinking Modern Love is just, what you would use as a profile name. I never put two and two together
like that, and then if you go back to when Modern Love and Floyd met and then they started talking about Richard, or Floyd started talking about Richard, and Modern Love started smiling. So he got a kick out of that. It got him a little bit more interested in the conversation when he talked about Richard.
So he could potentially be Richard's dad, uncle, somebody.
Something. I just think there's something there, and they do a great job of keeping us thinking of all kinds of different. I mean, you've heard people say it's this person, it's that person. Little Richard there, he was a little.
There it is. Ding, ding, ding. We got
there we go. But Little Richard, he was acting up there the first couple shows. But like you guys talked about, is that it's neat to see him in a different personality. He went from suspect to pretty good kid right now.
Yeah, I'm still pulling for Richard. I really am, because I'm like, I don't want him to be, too
just
troubled.
Seeing him smile in episode 3.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool, because throwing rocks at houses got everybody mad at him.
A little disturbed, but now, he's just a kid that's just struggling through life like we all are at that age.
A part of me is still hoping that Floyd's still alive. Because I'm kind of like, I don't want this kid to be hurt by his stepdad being dead.
Just how this is going to play out is going to be interesting. These last 3 episodes, I think there's going to be a lot of directions it'll go, and I think it's going to go with a lot of interviews of the police. Are going to start interviewing different people, and then they're going to start flashing back. And those flashbacks are going to be pretty wild.
Yeah, so obviously we want to get your thoughts on all things police. These 2 detectives, I mean, they seem like, would you say you've met detectives like that in your career?
Yeah, the old crust. You got the crusty veteran, and then you've got the young, different kind of thinker that thinks outside the box a little bit. And old crusty veterans don't think outside the box that often. And when they get their and this happens in a lot of cases, though, is that sometimes the facts are all right in front of you. And it's really hard to look in a different direction because you're thinking, we got this guy.
It's right there.
We got him. you know, and then when she comes back on several different occasions and said, you might have it wrong, you might think about this, or you might think about that. As an older detective, you're like, what are you saying that for? We got this, you know, so that dichotomy is very good. And then the other thing I found is that, you know, you have the small town and a big town detective. And that's not so much a friction but it's more of a friction when in bigger cities with federal and local. You can get that friction of who's going to take a case and who's going to. But they seem to be working on their own now, which is, you know, obviously that's usually you'll have a big group of people talking about cases, lead detectives.
Are they always talking about it in bars? Those two always seem to be in a bar.
Bars tend to get a lot of cases solved, or there's a lot of theories being thrown around at bars, so that's realistic.
But would it be usual that you'd have this like smaller town detective working with the bigger jurisdiction detective? They'd be working side by side like that?
Yes. So similar in St. Louis would be like the major case squad getting called out. To where the major case squad will get called out to help with all the resources they can provide. And the experienced detectives and the smaller municipalities might have a younger detective, but they're not going to alienate that detective. They're going to keep him involved in the case. Now, how involved, it depends on the intricacies of the case and what exactly needs to be done. But they're not just going to take the case from, you know, let's just call it Brentwood or Kirkwood or some of these places that don't have a homicide division where major case squad would come in. They're not going to just alienate them from it. They're going to keep them involved.
Yeah, because I'm guessing some of these small towns, just like in our region or anywhere, they just don't have a lot of expertise on how to handle something like this.
Correct. So the rule of thumb for most cases, most murder cases in our area is if the police department doesn't have the homicide division, which would be, so homicide, I believe it's the city, the county, Jefferson County's got theirs. But the smaller ones that don't have a homicide and only have like one or two detectives, they'll call the major case squad in. So I guess, you know, you would consider Homer the major case squad of Twyla. Yeah. So,
do you give Homer some credit for listening to her and listening to the young ones? Because he's resistant at first. Almost every scene, he's like, "Well, I don't think so," but then he's like, "Oh shoot, you might be right."
Absolutely.
Yeah. I have a question for you. I'm curious on if you were in this position with the Floyd being dead and his best friend potentially being involved and the wife. Which way would you be leaning for as far as suspect-wise? Would you always suspect the wife to be the number one suspect, the best friend with the affair? Like, where would your kind of...
They've kind of spread the infield to where you're thinking everybody's a suspect.
Right.
They've done a good job of that. But anytime somebody dies, you're going to look at the financials.
Right.
The spouse is always... You know, you're going to interview that spouse pretty hard first.
Yeah.
But this was a little different to where, you know, you had the porn positive stuff going on, and that kind of that was the first angle she threw in at him and kind of said, "I'm the expert here. There's more to it than this because I'm porn positive." But like you said, him listening, I think you could say that he doesn't want to listen, but she's throwing out a lot of logic, which forces you to listen. You know, so
True.
She does a good job. I think their relationship is good. I like it.
Spin-off show, anyone? I mean, come on, there's got to be other murders that happen at some point in Twyla.
I was hoping we could carry this on.
I know.
I think 7 shows will, like I said, I think these last 3 are going to be a lot of wild stuff going on.
I keep laughing about this police station. What in the other planet police station? I mean, have you ever seen a police station that's all concrete and just like, what are they doing there?
It's got to be for the cinematic view, right? But like I told you guys before the show, I've never interviewed anybody in a dark room with one light in it. Mm-hmm. But that's what you see in movies.
Spotlight, like
movie after movie. That's what you see is that one light. Everybody's in shadows and then you have 2 guards out the windows, and that doesn't happen. But it's enjoyable to watch because I think that could be done for comedy, especially the 2 guards outside the window when they were interviewing the one show, and then 2 guards are just sitting there watching. I found it funny.
Yeah.
So
St. Louis City does have a relatively new HQ, so it's better than it used to be. But that just looks so futuristic there. I mean, do you think that is kind of like, again, just for TV,
for full effect, and like the interviewing people in a lobby?
Yeah, I love those scenes though, because again, they're like separated by 20 feet, and
you have the extras hugging the wall. That's what I noticed. They just hug the wall everywhere they go.
I want to talk about evidence handling.
Uh-oh.
Because one thing I noticed is that
It's not
they
my
never
specialty.
well, I know, but you are our expert because you have a lot more expertise than we do, obviously. They never have gloves on or anything. They're handling all the pages from the crime scene. She's carrying around the key in her purse everywhere she goes for the P.O. box, and I'm just like, chain of custody much? I don't know. I mean,
Right.
is that kind of
Again,
stuff just bother you?
I don't think that they're paying attention to the smaller details like that just to keep the show going.
Yeah.
They don't want to introduce these detective sergeants and supervisors. What I was somewhat baffled by is that there's no prosecuting attorneys.
Oh,
Usually,
right.
when there's an investigation that goes this long, there's prosecuting attorneys that kind of help steer what they want for prosecution.
Yeah, I think there's one scene where it's like they're on like some kind of like walking bridge between two buildings, it looks like, and Homer is talking to what looks like a prosecutor, and it sounds like it's like open shut case, but it just kind of reinforces his thinking of just like that's all that there is. Yeah. And then Plum comes in and is like, just kidding, it's not. There's other things we should be looking at. But yeah, it's kind of like they are really just the two solving it all.
And I think that's just to keep it simple for us.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you guys, sometimes get confused when I do the flashbacks of exactly how far they're going back and where they're at. So sometimes it takes you a couple minutes to figure that out through the conversations.
Yeah.
So you have to really pay attention to the conversations to find out where they're at in the story.
Are you finding that, Ellie? We haven't touched on that. I mean, where sometimes the flashbacks are confusing me a little bit.
They can be
on timeline.
As Tom was alluding to, you got to kind of peek in on certain things. Like in the most recent episode 4, there's a mention of like, we're going to have the cornhole party in a couple weeks. So you're like, okay, so that puts us there. Or he hasn't met, in his 4th episode, at the beginning, Carol hasn't met Clark yet. So kind of little tidbits and little lines of dialogue that kind of places us in time where we're kind of, okay, this makes sense where we're at now. But it is kind of confusing especially with episode 1, they were saying 4 weeks here, 6 weeks here, but we haven't seen that since episode 1.
And still 2018. They made it very clear that it was set in 2018, and I still am kind of curious if we're going to get some kind of like then quick fast forward
to our current times.
It's got me, and like I said earlier, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but this has got me and my wife and all of us and the text threads, and it's fun. It is fun.
It is fun. And I was thinking, too, about, because obviously, investigative reporter, I've covered a lot of crime. I'm certainly no expert again, but things are moving really pretty fast timeline-wise, too. I was kind of laughing about, like, how fast subpoenas come back or how fast, they're able to, like, run all of this information in what looks like this, like, real-time crime center. Yeah. Does that kind of make you just giggle a little bit, knowing what it really takes?
Yes, the whole projector thing? Yeah, that makes me laugh, because I guess it could happen, but we use TVs. It is 2018. Yeah. I don't know if you're the whole projector thing. Right.
But how does it actually work? Like when you're trying to solve something like this, does it take longer than you wish it would sometimes just for all of the paperwork and warrants?
Everything's different. Like the subpoenas, that they can be cumbersome depending on what you want and what you got to get. And then what you're subpoenaing, like phone records, you get a dump of phone records, that's going to take days to go through, and you have to have experts go through that. So, and you could say that they do have their people in the background that they can go to get this picture of this, and Modern Love called, that one episode where they're like, this Modern Tiger came up. Mm-hmm. That was all coming from people in the background. So that does happen in cases where not all the time that the lead detectives don't gather all the information, but they are given all the information.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about if there was a real app called DTF. And you have to send a subpoena to them, and then they're going to fight it for their lawyers, and then to get an IP address, just take forever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to say what DTF was in St. Louis before the social media.
Okay,
it was down
sure.
to Floney's.
What
down
explain
to
that
Floney's.
for folks.
The Floney's has been a go-to place for 20, 30 years. Every Thursday, it was packed. So we'd all go down to Floney's.
It was a different kind of DTF. not an app like this.
Yeah.
Is amphazine real? I keep meaning to Google this. Okay, that's a totally made-up drug.
Yeah, it's made up.
Because you did a lot of drug work. Obviously, that was like your expertise.
Yes.
So what is it supposed to be? I mean, are we just like...
I don't know. I have no idea. So it's just made up because I did look it up, and it's not a drug.
Nothing good. Yeah.
It just stops your heart.
That's all we know right now. Oh, too much of it.
Exactly.
real lethal dose. Yeah.
Right.
Well, then you got the prescription coming back to
Clark.
Clark. But then Emmy has access to anything Clark would.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm still on Emmy. As my
because they
prime
haven't explained
suspect.
to us at all what Clark was even taking it for. I don't
Right.
think. I don't think we know why he suddenly went to get a prescription for something from a doctor. What was it for?
And then too is that sometimes when Clark's getting interviewed, and he changes his attitude or demeanor when he really wants, like that one time he said when he got on the detective for questioning the way he said something, and it was about that, and he blew up at her.
Yeah.
And then came back, and then he blew up about the key. So every once in a while, when he says something, and especially to Homer, when Homer would not talk about Floyd in the right way, if he gets mad at him and he doesn't talk to Floyd about the way he wants him to talk about Floyd. So I think his interviews were telling too about the bike. I wasn't on the bike, and you can tell he wasn't on the bike.
Yeah, I know. I love hearing it from your perspective of just like how would a questioning like that really go, and what would that tell you?
The way they answer questions does sometimes sway your opinion about certain things. Just because a lot of times as a detective, it's like everybody else. You use a gut feeling on whether people are telling you the truth
and stuff. Yeah.
And then if you don't think they're telling you the truth, you got to go prove they're not telling you the truth. And if you think they're telling you the truth, you got to prove that too. So especially in a homicide case, if the alibis, you got to go prove them or disprove them one way or the other. So no matter what they tell you, you got to prove or disprove it. So but sometimes they'll tell you it in a way that you're like, I think he's telling us the truth on that one.
Right.
I mentioned in a previous episode too, but it's bothering me that Clark, until the very end, didn't ask for a lawyer, because you're just like, once the lawyers get involved too, things get messier or stickier.
Yeah.
He did lawyer up that one time. We talked about it, but, they should have re-Mirandized him.
Yeah.
But that's just another,
Okay,
another
once they
little
lawyer
moment
up, you're done.
I have to ask you about is when the cops, the sheriff's deputies are going upstairs to arrest Clark, and they're like doing this chant. What was that? What was that even?
That had to be comedy, right?
I 100%.
Because that does not happen. I can promise you that. Where nobody's chanting or anything else before they go indoors.
Like
or
marching.
Yeah, they're not listening to music. There's no hype music. Or that doesn't happen.
Would you arrest someone live on TV, though?
Oh, that's a great question.
No. That's why police officers have supervisors. Is because there's probably police officers that would do it. Because they would say, I don't like this dude. We're going to lock him up right on. We're going to prove a point. And then you tell that to your supervisor, and they're like, no, you're not. That's not what you're going to do.
Right.
You're just going to wait till he gets off the air, wait till he gets off. We'll have our lawyers call his lawyers. We'll work it with, let's just say that we.
Please not at Channel 4 in St. Louis, okay? I'm glad it's Channel 10 in this show.
Right. Right. But, you'd work it out with them. You'd let them know that their employee is about to get arrested and we're coming over. And depending on the relationship, but, you're not going online.
Yeah, that gives me anxiety just thinking about that.
Right. We did say in our show that if you tried that with Templeton, that it would not go well during an emergency weather thing.
First of all, I'm quite confident Templeton would never do that. That's our chief meteorologist here.
He's great.
He is a great guy, wonderful scientist, and truly does a public service of keeping people safe. We just saw with some severe storms that came through again too. So
there's going to be an issue. You try to lock him up on duty during what violent weather.
Oh yeah, that would be a problem. But it's never going to happen. I think that's going to be safely in the fiction realm. Any other questions you had, Elliot?
The only thing I can think of, because I'm so fascinated by your previous profession, I know you say you don't watch a lot of TV shows, but whether it be a television show similar to this or a movie, do you find yourself like trying to solve the case, the mystery, way before your friends or family do?
Absolutely.
And does it become a point where they're like, we're going to watch it first, and then we'll have you come in later to get your thoughts because you're solving things left and right.
You're ruining it for us. Is that what you're saying?
I tell you, my wife is bound and determined to solve it before me.
Yeah.
She's right on the edge.
Yeah, taking notes.
She's got her theories, and she is on Carol. She's not a fan of Carol's. So she thinks Carol has orchestrated something.
Yeah.
I still wonder if it's a big Rico, too, because, Clark is the one signing up. And he puts on the life insurance somebody else's name. It's Louise Jean Forrest in Saskatchewan, Canada. And I said, well, who's that? Is that his mom, or who is that? Or is Emmy's name that or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's something that if Homer would lock into, that's another thing. You know, that's a dead giveaway. He lied on the thing. Come on. That's so Homer's going to probably use that against Clark shortly.
Do you want to see more of the personal life of these detectives? As you mentioned, Plum right away is I'm poor and positive. And that was kind of shocking to me because I feel like they don't always, they stay in their compartmentalized lane and they don't reveal something about themselves right off the bat. Do you want to know more about their backstories or not really?
Nah, I think the all the wild stuff that the other people are doing. Now, we did have somebody mention that, what's the girl's name? The girl detective?
Jody Plum.
Plum. Joy Plum.
She had a quick shot of her husband.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Somebody said he's
Yes.
going to come back because he's going to be on that DTF website.
Oh, boy.
We'll see.
Yeah, that is interesting that they made sure to include that. We see him as a character. They're searching something on a computer together.
Homer's home life, kids, family. I don't think he's mentioned anything of that nature.
I think he drinks a lot. I think I've realized he seems to need a bevy every now and again.
Yeah.
Well, that's not far off either. I'm not saying everybody, but there are some that have enjoyed their beverages over the years, along with solving cases. Go hand in hand and go solve a case. Go have a little beverage or go have some beverages and talk about a case.
Right.
It's done a lot.
Well, you've mentioned a couple comments that you've gotten. So tell us about your podcast, because this is a really cool podcast that has been growing a lot lately. Tell us about it.
It's the brighter side. It's called The Brighter Side of Blue, and we started it in a little over 2 years ago. And we talk about a lot of the crimes that have happened in St. Louis that have kind of shaped our community, some of the bigger crimes. But the main reason we did it is to show people the other side of police officers. That, and we tape live in the basement of a bar. We have fun, just like we were talking here, and we have a lot of fun showing people the other side. We memorialize some of the heroes that have gone through and paid the ultimate sacrifice. We talk about fun stories. We talk about bank robberies, all the good stuff. And we have a lot of fun, and then we put out a short on DTF a while back when we heard about it, and it wasn't the day. It was the day of that you called me and said, "Hey, we want to come on this DTF." We were going to do one anyway, so it's neat. So we do a breakdown just like these guys do, and we have fun with it. And then once this is over, we'll go back to our just regular old podcast. And we have a lot of fun. And retired Major Danny Howard does it with me. A current Lieutenant J.J. Joyner, who's with Mobile Reserve, is a guest or is a host, and then our producer is a retired Sergeant John Frank. So we have a lot of fun.
I guess to that question, I mean, do you feel like when there's portrayals in the media, in entertainment of police, like traditionally have police spoken for themselves and let them, say this is what we want to talk about? Do you think portrayals like this help or hurt the profession sometimes?
I think it helps.
Good.
I think this type of media and this with podcasts is used to our advantage and show people a different side to us. Right. And that's what we really wanted to do. That was our main thing. And I don't know if that answered your question, but that's just one of the things that we really, really enjoy is laughing and telling stories. And we can tell some very, very dark stories, but still have some sense of humor at the end and get through it with some laughs. And that really means a lot to us.
All right, so as we head into episode 5 of DTF St. Louis, any thoughts? Anything you guys are going to be watching for?
I just want to be right. I want it to be Emmy, because I can't have my wife beating me out on the who it is.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to find out until that last
final episode.
I think that going into that last episode, we're going to have a lot of suspects still.
I'm in the camp of, and I watch a lot of murder mysteries, and certainly on HBO they have some of the Mare of Easttowns of the world and True Detectives of the world. I feel like sometimes they tend to go the route where they'll give you the answer of the murder mystery, but it's mostly about like the characters, who they are. So I hope give or take, depending on the execution, that I hope that the payoff is there. That I hope that we get a thrilling and a fun.
Putting a lot of pressure on themselves.
They do. That's what I'm saying. When you have it's not the core of the show, but it is the hook. It's like what happened to Floyd. So I just hope they stick the landing, and the reveal is worth the
I didn't watch The Sopranos, but everybody that watched The Sopranos thought it was a horrible ending.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't want. That's what I don't want here.
Yeah.
Right.
That horrible ending where you're like, come on.
Yeah, like there wasn't the payoff.
Right.
Yeah. I'm still hopeful we're going to get it too. I think
we are. These guys are good.
Yeah.
Whoever you had that writer on, the producer, he's good.
Yeah. Yeah, check out that episode if you guys haven't seen that one from Stephen Conrad. Yeah, he's a very interesting dude to talk to. So thank you so much for joining us on this.
Appreciate it.
We really appreciate it. Again, The Brighter Side of Blue is where you can find Tom. His stuff, Elliot, where can folks find you?
On YouTube, talking about the latest movies and shows. TikTok, sharing some thoughts about, casting, trailers, or what have you. And, of course, Instagram and X and Letterboxd and all that fun stuff.
Yep, and definitely leave us comments, too, wherever you're finding these podcasts, because we want to hear from you. You can always email us to dtfstl@firstalertforward.com. Give us your thoughts, because we want to share. We want to get all that conversation happening as we have just a few episodes left. Not many, really. So, but we'll be here till the very end. DTF St. Louis, the unofficial after show.